Dr. Keith Rowley has spoken out about what he calls the misinformation and outright untruths the current government is communicating to the Trinidad and Tobago citizenry. On his social media page, he said, "Whether I am in retirement or not, the whole country, and I dare say the world, know that I was the Prime Minister of Trinidad and Tobago between 2015, September 9th, and 2025, March 16th. As such, I led the cabinet and have responsibility for the decisions made by the PNM administration during that period. I have been trying very hard to stay out and away from the decisions and narratives of today's regime, but the daily diet of misinformation and outright untruths forced me to intervene in order to protect the record and to prevent any self-serving revision of the facts." 1. The UWI Davie Campus. The University of the West Indies is not a government department, but instead is a regional institution governed by charter and is headquartered at Mona, Jamaica, where all aspects of the regional university funding and operations are discussed beforehand and approved upfront by the Senate University Grants Committee, UGC. The creation and expansion of faculties have been done on many occasions in our various territories, and except for the Davie campus, none has ever descended into acrimony, bacchanal, and lies about paternity. The reason being, the Davie campus was gifted to the university in the form of infrastructure for a law faculty, which has since morphed into a full campus, including medical school, without the sustainable, substantial funding to cover intake and operations as trumpeted by the midwife of this adventure. Government struggle to fund the St. Augustine campus, and UTT is public information embodied in the national budget. The same cannot be said of the new Davie facility, which came into being without the proper procedures and, more importantly, funding arrangements. Thus, the period 2015 to 2019 was the worst possible time for the UWI to look to the government to prioritize funding for territorial expansion when national revenues fell from $50 billion to $38 billion. This became a financial struggle and burden upon the university, which could only have looked to the government for help. As if that was not bad enough, up comes COVID and its deleterious effects 2019 to 2022 and beyond. During the pandemic, as part of the operations and management of the emergency through the parallel health system, the government, with the cooperation of the UWI, incorporated some of the infrastructure at Davie. Thus, the history of this facility can be shown, as described, to have nothing to do with racism, government deliberate neglect and abandonment, or politics. It has everything to do with its unique concept at birth and the unfortunate confluence of the funding needs and its unique arrangements within a struggling UWI. In fact, the current Attorney General, outside of the current Tomb of Resurrection, was very vociferous in his opposition to the spawning of another law school within the territory of Trinidad and Tobago. If I am to quote, "A building does not a law school make. It is what the university allocation and faculty can sustain." 2. Tobago autonomy. The Prime Minister, in seeking to demonstrate the seriousness of prioritizing her relationship with Chief Secretary Farley Augustine and Tobago's autonomy issues, said, "Bills have been brought to the Parliament and they lapsed." In referring to the last actions of the Parliament, that is a blatant untruth generated to feed significant misinformation being sold in Tobago in preparation for a campaign of untruths that is already taking shape in Tobago. The truth is that 2 bills, generated by widespread consultation in Tobago, were brought to the Parliament without any revision or abridgment and were subjected to detailed, lengthy professional attention by a joint select committee of the Parliament. At its final stages, both bills were put to a vote. One bill with measures for increased autonomy, administrative structures, and improved finances was voted upon and passed, with only the PNM majority voting for it. The UNC did not support these measures. The other bill, which was an amendment to the Constitution, was required to bring into effect the measures which were passed in the first bill, was voted upon and was supported by the PNM. The UNC, with the public support of the Chief Secretary, did not support it, and since this amendment required a special majority, this bill was defeated in the House. It was not a case of any bill being made to lapse. It was a recorded case of a vote being taken. The UNC withheld its votes, and the Tobago Autonomy Bill was thus defeated. It must also be said here that when these bills were being debated and created in Tobago, the then Chief Secretary Orville London could not get a meeting with then Prime Minister Kamla Persad-Bissessar. It took the coming into being of the PNM government, which I led, to open the door, receive the bills, take them to Parliament, subject them to parliamentary scrutiny, and put that product to a vote, which in the end only the PNM supported. Therefore, I will not sit and watch the country's historical record being distorted, as if we are all asleep. 3. School building program. With respect to the misinformation that the PNM government shut down the school building program, I leave the facts of that $2.4 billion challenge to be described and presented by the PNM when it chooses to be the opposition. The necessary facts are all there. We faced up to problems and fixed them. Others create problems and lie about them. Setting the record straight. Mrs. Ayanna Webster Roy expressed support for Dr. Rowley's decision to speak out by reiterating the facts. She responded by saying, setting the record straight, respecting the facts. I stand in full support of former Prime Minister Dr. Keith Rowley's decision to speak out in defense of the truth. His leadership between 2015 and 2025 was marked by accountability, transparency, and a willingness to make difficult decisions in tough times. Decisions grounded in the realities of national priorities, not political optics. On the UWI-Davie campus, it's time we stop using education infrastructure for political football. Facts matter. Planning, funding, and sustainability matter. Dr. Rowley has made it clear. This was never about race or neglect, but about responsible governance. On Tobago autonomy, the record shows that the PNM government moved the autonomy bills forward after years of inaction. Those who now cry foul must remember that they had their chance and chose politics over progress. On the school building program, the facts are clear. The PNM didn't shut it down, they cleaned it up. Leadership means fixing what's broken, not pretending it was never broken in the first place. Let's honor truth, not political spin. Let's protect our national record from distortion. I stand with Dr. Rowley in defense of facts and integrity. Objection. Misrepresentation. Following Dr. Rowley's accounting of the facts, a local newspaper printed a headline that read, "Rowley slams mistruths about his government's record," prompting Dr. Rowley to once again speak out in defense of facts and integrity. I never used the word mistruths. I accused the government of spreading misinformation and outright untruths. The use of quotation marks imply those were the exact words that I used, and I object to that misrepresentation. If I am to be quoted, it is to be done accurately, so as to preserve the integrity of my own expression, said Dr. Rowley.